Parents have been investing in real estate for a long time, and in addition to the detached house that is my parents' house, they own 2 apartments along the same railway. My parents have been investing in real estate for a long time, and in addition to the detached house that is my parents' house, they own 2 apartments along the same railway line. The rooms were each operated as a rental property, but when I got a job, my workplace became closer to the apartment. Just in time, the residents said they were moving out and submitted a notice to move out, so I was allowed to move in there. Even though it was my parents' share, I was a member of society and paid the rent accordingly. After that, I worked for about 5 years and saved a lot of money, so I decided to start investing in real estate like my parents. Pay the down payment all at once, then divide it into small pieces. I bought it thinking that if I ever got married, I could live there. A few years later, I married my wife. Although he had a desire to get married, he often did not go well with women because his personality was relatively a workaholic. I love my job and I love seeing you work hard. Don't you think it's a terrible person to tell people who are reluctant to commute to do their best? I really hate that. That's why I think it's cool that you love your job so much that you even work on your days off, says my now wife. Her wife also liked her job, so you might say she was a busy career woman. After she got married to me, she stopped working once, and after she had a child and calmed down, she went back to work in a short time. Right after we got married, we started living together in the apartment I bought. After I moved out, my parents' apartment immediately received applications to move in, and the same people still live there. I was paying off the loan relatively well and was about to pay it off. However, since my child was born, my priorities have changed, and the payment has been postponed for a while, because I want to see my child's happy face, so I want to buy a lot of things. But by the time my child was 5, I had paid it off. I was already 45 at the time. My wife is younger than me, and she said she wanted another child, so we decided to rent out our current house and buy a new detached house. There was no way everything would go so well, and we had a lot of trouble finding properties and screening, but somehow we found a property that met our conditions, and we decided to settle down there. I had 2 children and was happy with my family of 4, but my sister-in-law got divorced around that time. It seems that the reason for the divorce was the affair of the sister-in-law's husband. Her sister-in-law had always been a full-time housewife, but her husband said he was working every day and didn't come home at all. If she followed me, I should have taken a picture of evidence or something, but there was no such thing, and when I questioned her, she found out about Shira. Her sister-in-law's husband was smart, so it seems that she soon stopped seeing the affair partner and came back smoothly. Because of that, my sister-in-law, who couldn't get evidence of the affair scene, just divorced without getting any alimony. Her sister-in-law and her husband-in-law were classmates in junior high school, and when they met again after a long time, her sister-in-law was also brought home as a playmate. That led to an unexpected pregnancy, and she got married in a hurry. However, unfortunately, the pregnancy ended on the way, and my sister-in-law does not have a child yet. Perhaps because of the shock, my sister-in-law became very hysterical. I also got married to my wife and had the opportunity to meet her sister-in-law several times a year, but I realized that her personality and expression were getting tougher and tougher. It seems that she quit her job because she was pregnant, but she had no intention of working after that, and her attitude was that she would support her because she was married. It seems that my sister-in-law's husband also ran an affair because he could not stand such an environment. I heard that her sister-in-law was going to go back to her mother-in-law's house, but one day she suddenly came to our house. Well, my parents didn't think very well of me getting married in the first place, so maybe this divorce is also considered a mess, even though I'm so hurt. But my father and mother are not with me. Lois, my sister-in-law yelled in a high-pitched voice, so I can't go home. I'm not working right now, and the only people I can rely on at times like this are my family, so please, stay for a while, and I thought I'd give you a break. Lois, my sister-in-law yelled in a high-pitched voice, so I can't go home. I'm not working right now, and the only people I can rely on at times like this are my family, so please, stay for a while, and I thought I'd give you a break. My wife also seemed to be going to refuse, and said, no, I understand how you feel, but we have our own lives, so it might be a bit impossible for us to suddenly live together. Then he squealed again and said, well, if you care about me, give me your husband's house. You don't have to pay rent because you're a family, right? That alone helps me a lot. I was told. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. I politely declined. My wife also said, even if you suddenly say such a thing, there are people who live now, so everything won't go your way, right? Then my sister-in-law starts crying. Why do I have to think like this? What did I do? What's wrong? At the entrance, the children woke up even though they were asleep, and they were a nuisance to the neighborhood, so I had no choice but to stay the night. Perhaps thinking that she would be kicked out if she went down to the living room, the sister-in-law hid in the futon and didn't come out for 3 days. My wife told me that it would be bad for my body if I didn't eat the rice balls, but I ate them all for the past 3 days. Thinking that it would be a problem if she continued to be possessed, I managed to call her sister-in-law to the living room and asked her parents-in-law to come and talk with everyone. Her father-in-law said, I was against it from the beginning because you said you would marry that guy. Who would ask such a selfish person to let me go back to my parents' house because I got a divorce? And her sister-in-law responds accordingly. Her sister-in-law said, but I really have nowhere to go. At this rate, I really can't live in the future, and I can't even find a job. I want to redo a lot of things. So when I asked her to let me live in her brother-in-law's house, she refused. Was said as if it was my fault. Yes, you are investing in real estate. My sister-in-law is in such trouble. Can you help me? I was surprised when my father-in-law said, after all, you're the one who spoiled me like that. I'm sorry, but there are already tenants there now, so unless there's a very good reason, I can't encourage you to move. Besides, the current tenant is paying the rent properly, but my sister-in-law just wants me to live there, so it's even more impossible. If you think I'm heartless, why don't you let your father-in-law forgive me and let me go back to my parents' house? I said. My father-in-law became irritated even though I didn't say anything wrong, and he muttered, you're a cheeky man. They are our children forever. It is a strange story to ask her daughter's marriage partner to arrange a house for her sister. In the first place, even though I'm no longer angry about her second daughter's marriage, you've just renovated your daughter's room into your own hobby room, so you just don't want it to go away, right? He said to his father-in-law. The father-in-law's face is bright red as it seems to be a figure star. His wife also said, don't get us involved in that. Yes, this is the end of the story. Dad cleans up the room. My sister will go back there and look for a job. This is the solution. Then go home. Both my sister-in-law and father-in-law reluctantly left. Parents and children are all too selfish. You're surprised. Maybe it's because my wife is the eldest daughter, but I'm relieved that I don't feel like that at all. A few years later, our family went on a trip abroad with the profit from the rent. I even gave my sister-in-law a lot of souvenirs from overseas because of my sarcasm.